First, with talking about our current situation with COVID. Obviously, it's affecting everybody. It's affecting us. It's affecting our resellers, our direct partners. As our UK distributor, what have you seen in the way of COVID effects on business?
I'd say that the main thing we saw when it first started back in March last year is it went very quiet for the first 6-8 weeks. Obviously, with people getting their heads around what was going on, businesses not having people in the offices, and obviously people being put on furlough, it then activity recovered, and our activity levels were actually as high as or higher than the previous year from about June onwards. Now the business that we saw became a lot more lumpy, so rather than there being a lot of smaller deals coming in from smaller dealers, it tended to be larger deals coming in sporadically from various dealers in the channel, and obviously everything's a lot more competitive out there. There were a lot of people we found who were considering changing software solutions and hardware were just refreshing and sticking with what they had for another 3 months, 6 months. Public sector tenders still carried on, which we've had some success with various products, but that's generally it. And we have seen now in January, with the new lockdown happening, salespeople who had all been brought back in September, October time have now been put back on furlough. So we've certainly spoken to 4 or 5 big dealers in the last couple of weeks who have done that. So I think once this furlough is then over, this lockdown is over, then we will hopefully start to see things going back to more normal, because the activity level in the channel had certainly picked up till Christmas.
So it's interesting you say that, like, after the initial lockdown last year, you were busier than you were the previous year. So what was that involving? Was it, as you said, a lot of renewals, or
it was the number of quotes was slightly down. We were doing on a month by month basis, but the value was higher. So when we looked at it, and it has been the same virtually every month up until whatever I put my last forecast in, which would have been in beginning of January. So up to date, we've had higher activity levels, or I would say it's very similar. So I think the values have been up and the numbers have been slightly down.
So as a gauge, would you say that it's organisations, end users, if you like, getting ready via their dealers or suppliers to get ready for when lockdown ends? They're getting prepping their offices with regards to making them COVID friendly, or just literally getting ready to renew the systems that they've extended through the last year?
No, and this isn't renewals. This is new business. So I think because of the situation everybody's found themselves in, as far as salespeople and dealers and so forth, with their incomes probably taking a bit of a hit, there may have been an increased activity level. So obviously we've also seen a move towards more capture-based products rather than straight print management, because obviously if people aren't printing, then they aren't printing. So with some of the products in our range, we are not pushing the print management side of them, it's the capture side of them.
But what about actual print management side of things? Has there been a shift to not want to be on site with regards to
again, yes, I think that's definitely correct. So as you all know, our sales have been going up month on month with the EveryonePrint product, as people realise that they're looking to save costs any way they can, because businesses have been affected so much by the pandemic, and the cost savings that they can make by going cloud-based rather than having on-premise is obviously, as we've stated in numerous webinars and so forth, second to none with the EveryonePrint product. Even in small installations, if they've got a couple of print servers out there, the software price becomes irrelevant.
So bearing in mind that most dealers and salespeople are kind of set in their ways. I've been in the industry a long time. You have. We've both had various roles, so we kind of sit on both sides of the fence. Are you seeing a good uptake on having to sell something different as opposed to an on-prem solution? Have you seen salespeople embracing new technology, or is it something that they're still kind of trying to, drag them into the 21st century, if you like, to sell something?
I think it depends on the dealers, but I would say in the majority, it's difficult. So if you sell a product which you don't have to think about, you can just say, here's a quote, it works, and this is the way it works. It's a lot easier for a lazy salesperson to do that than to say, actually, have you thought about the fact that you're running this software and there are 3 or 4 servers involved, and those servers are costing you $2.5 to $4 a year to run each. And which is, for the majority of end users who are in that mid bracket of up to, I don't know, 30, 40 devices, is a conversation you can have quite easily. I can understand how in larger organizations and larger installations that becomes more complex, because it's like, well, I don't care how much it costs for the service because it's not my budget. But in smaller businesses, it should be a very easy sell. But there are some dealers who, as we're aware, have taken to it really well, which is where we're seeing lots of sales coming through and lots of quoting opportunities. And obviously, when organizations understand that piece, like we've seen with the government, when they see those opportunities and the savings and the security aspects of it in comparison to what they were doing before, then it becomes a requirement, a de facto standard, which is what we've seen with the government contracts coming out.
What we see as a manufacturer of the product, and I don't know if you can reflect this in the way that you're supplying it, but if you take a smaller dealer, for instance, maybe 10 or 15 employees in the dealer, and they've got a wide base, relatively new to the market as a dealer, so they would have set up in the past 3-4 years. Then you've got your big large dealers and manufacturers. We seem to be doing very well in public sector, and these smaller, hungrier dealers.
Yeah.
How would you suggest that we hit the guys in the middle that can't quite get their heads around it? They're only concentrating on churn, figures, and that dreaded CPC that everybody seems to fight over. We want to target those. How would we approach them? What would you say to them?
I think it's just on 2 things. And the larger dealers who are on the frameworks are obviously going to see the product and see it being pushed by other people on those frameworks, whether they be other dealers or vendors or whoever on them. So that's going to start trickling down. We're also going to see the smaller dealers going on the same tenders that the big or the people who are not concentrating and taking a long time to get their mindset around the product. We're going to see that, and we are seeing that in competitive situations where people are who are the people who are the bright young things who are in the new companies who have taken it on board and understand the benefits, are pushing that product. And as soon as they start losing tenders and deals to that product, to EveryonePrint, then they will start to do it. And equally, I think with some of the marketing we're doing, generating leads and so forth, when we're pushing leads to people who are kind of on the fence and quite happy selling their paper cuts and their control suites or whatever it is, to look at the new product, if you suddenly give them that as bait as much as anything else, which is what it is. Here's a deal for you. Look, it works really well. That will then equally drive sales.
And with regards to the kind of salesperson that is out there, as I said, we've both been in the business a long time. We're probably due retirement from it at some point soon, I would have thought. If you were to take control of a sales force, what would you say to them about software as a solution? As being biased, what would you say to them to drive?
I think that what would I say to them? I mean, if you go to any commercial or government entity now, and they are all putting cloud first. There is no, I don't think there's any company, us as a company, we have cloud-based products, Office 365, and everybody's using cloud-based products because that's the way that the market currently is. And if you're not talking to them about a print product doing that and removing infrastructure, then somebody else will be. And if they're not now, they will be very shortly.
And it's a major, it's a major thing with government that it's their directive that if they can prove otherwise, that they don't have to go down the cloud route, fine. That's it. But the directive or the drive is to go down the cloud route, and we're seeing more tenders now, which is a great thing for us, that tenders are stipulating that they want HCP as a backbone. So again, is that something that's being talked about from, we know it's being talked about amongst our dealers, but is it something that you're hearing from your dealers, from people that are coming to you for other products?
I mean, it tends to be the dealers who are on the frameworks and dealing with a lot of government stuff tend to be the larger dealers in general. That's not exclusive, but if you go and look at the people who are on the CS frameworks and all the other ones out there, they tend to be larger players because of what's required to be on them. But certainly we've got smaller dealers who do deal with public sector organisations, maybe hospitals or care services or local government to an extent, who are certainly coming to us and asking about it because it's being stipulated, and just coming and saying, have you got any cloud products? But it's still difficult to. You're right. It's the mid market dealers or even the big dealers. It's with the big dealers. It's like trying to turn a very large ship. It takes a long time. And with the smaller ones, if you can get in front of them and explain it to them, they take it on board very quickly, because disseminating that information down through the organisation is so much easier.
So bearing in mind that we're hopefully coming out of the tail end of a second lockdown, and you've obviously seen a boost in business throughout it. I'm asking this of all of the people I'm talking to at the moment. What's your opinion on where we're going to be in 6 months? Now, I know you're not Boris Johnson, you're not an MP, so you're not up there forming policy, and you're not a doctor. But given your touch on the dealers and manufacturers that you have, what are you seeing that we could possibly be looking at in the next 6 months with regards to getting back to how we were before? Not the new normal, but an element of us being able to go out and engage one-to-one.
Well, I would certainly hope in 6 months' time we'll be able to go out and have face-to-face meetings. I think it will be interesting to see how many people still want them. If you look at the working day, I've been in sales for 20 plus years. It was great. You'd get on the road, you'd be in the car for 3 hours getting there, you'd have an hour meeting, they might have some lunch, you then come back for another 3 hours. It wasn't a very productive way of using your time, and I think that businesses will look at that and go, well, actually, if we look at how much money we were spending on travel and hotels and flights and whatever else, why do we need to do it? I can understand it still being a requirement if you're a large or international organization to go and meet team members. Maybe if you've got spread all over Europe, then there's benefit in doing that, because I think face to face in that front is very worthwhile. But I think with customers or our customers who are dealers, I think there's still benefit. Certainly when you're doing training sessions and so forth, we'll still go ahead. But if you read some of the statistics that are out there regarding purchasing decisions, they almost say that the buyer knows what he wants before he speaks to somebody who can sell it to him, because he's done the research, it's there already. So I think there will be less face-to-face meetings in general. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and finally, what do you see that your trends moving forward with regards to ProcessFlows, with regards to products that you're supplying? Obviously, software as a solution is a major part of everybody's life at the moment. I don't think cloud's going anywhere. If anything, it's just going to get bigger. Do you see products slightly starting to dwindle out? I mean, I know 2 years ago, everybody was talking about fax being the next casualty of the print industry, and I know that there are still some of them out there. I've spoken to a reseller recently that sold probably more faxes over the pandemic than they have in the past 3 or 4 years. So what do you think that we're going to see the gradual decline of over the next year?
I mean, that you mentioned fax. I mean, we're the largest distributor out of North America of fax products, of fax software. And we've been saying, it should have died 20 years ago, but it never has. So I think on-premise solutions will in general, in software, we obviously supply other software outside and other divisions outside of print and fax. Other software is moving to the cloud. Everything has become software as a service. And hardware, you can get hardware as a service. You can get anything as a service nowadays, because that's the model people want, rather than making large upfront outlays at the beginning. So I think that looking at, it's difficult, and it's a very difficult scenario in the print industry, because the dealers are so used to selling a piece of hardware which you then put on a lease for 3 years. So it's not quite software as a service. I know there are dealers out there doing it now, so you've got hardware as a service, so who are out there selling the whole thing as a monthly cost, and you can stop and start when you want. That gets quite risky for a dealer, but obviously there are spreadsheets behind it which will work out break-even points and so forth. So I think we will see a decline to an extent, certainly over the next 2 years, of on-prem software, and everything's going to, we can see it already. So we're going to have to look at our product portfolio and look at more cloud-based stuff, and it'll be more document management, more capture products. That kind of stuff is the route I would see us going, and the industry in general.
So the dealers and manufacturers that can grasp this new technology, if you like, jump on the wave now, are going to be the ones that succeed in the future.
Yeah, and never, and we've been saying it for years, but never more truer has the fact been that if you start talking to your customers about capture and other parts of the process, as well as moving to the cloud with print management, then you are becoming a partner of your customer. You're becoming invaluable.
As
and moving
opposed to
away
just a supplier.
moving away from it becomes much more difficult.
Yeah.
And why would you want to, as long as you're getting a good service?
Exactly. No, well, look, I want to take the time now, Miles, to thank you for getting on and having a chat with us. I know that you're very busy at the moment, so thank you so much for doing that. Is there anything you want to add about ProcessFlows? Obviously, we've got a number of dealers that are purchasing our product through you. So is there anything you just want to add about ProcessFlows before we part ways?
ProcessFlows, I mean, we've been here for a very long time, 30 plus years. ProcessFlows has existed in various names and guises. We have a very wide experience and huge service organization behind us. We're 300 plus people, based out of the UK and out of Sofia in Bulgaria. We offer, for all our products, free pre-sale support, free POCs, and because we're a small organization as such, we can move very quickly. So we're very flexible, which is why I think if you speak to dealers who already deal with us, of which on the print side we have 120 plus active dealers currently, it's the response times that we have. So we will get quotes back within hours, not days or weeks, which I know some of the vendors are currently doing, just because of the numbers of people they've had to lay off or make redundant. So we are a partner, so we will come back, we can help you with anything. We're very flexible. Anything you might want, we'll certainly consider, and that's what we want to be. We want to be a good partner to all our customers.
And of course, your leading product, EOP, EveryonePrint HCP, is your leading cloud print management software.
It is.
And of course, you're our UK distributor for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Miles. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you over the coming months.
Absolutely. Thank you.